Such as?
Those documents or whatever it is Edward is carrying around.
What about them?
They could be our eviction notice.
What do you mean?
I mean, they could be divorce papers. If I lived out in the cold, you would be too. We'd both be penniless.
Divorce? Are things really that bad between you?
Edward has grown tired of me, and I suspect he's already picked my replacement. At first, I thought he was just having a mild flirtation with that juicy cream donut Sue, Peggy Sue, but now I'm not so sure.
Peggy Sue? Well, she's a knockout, but you're more sophisticated than she is, more glamorous than she is.
20 years older than she is. That hominy-fed hussy has one thing I don't, youth. And that's one thing Edward's money won't buy him.
Edward's money. It should be your money too if he hadn't made you sign that agreement.
But he did. And I'm afraid the only way I could possibly inherit his money is if he drops dead before he divorces me.
Okay, hold it. That was pretty good. Could we have some more lights, please? And kill the storm. I think I'll say that till closer to the end of the scene. Why don't you two take a break, and I'll bring you back in a few minutes to introduce you properly. Hello! You got us in the middle of an intense moment. I'm working on a little scene. Well, you'll see it later. I am a writer, a playwright to be exact. No, that's not entirely accurate either. I represent a playwright. I'm his alter ego, so to speak. Equipped with baton and all for the sake of on-stage expression, whooping actors into shape, and hurling at sleeping audience members. I'm just kidding, but at any rate, it would probably help if I had a name. Let's see. Writer's alter ego. Oh, I know. Walter? Close enough? Fine, we'll call me Walter. Here's the deal. I thought that you might find it interesting to see how I commit a murder. That's not an offer you get every day, do you? The easiest way to show you how is to deconstruct the crime, so that's what we're going to do. Now, pay attention. Because once you see how simple it is to knock somebody off, you'll want to try it yourself. In your imagination, of course. Now, when I start a new show, the first thing I try to picture is the setting. I'm partial to old mansions like this one that's dark and gloomy. A room such as this creates the perfect ambiance for a murder to occur, don't you think? And I like fireplaces and French doors and use them often when the room lights go out. Glowing embers and pale moonlight provide just the right amount of low lighting to evoke a sinister atmosphere. For example, see what I mean? It sort of makes you want to pull out a gun or a knife or a rope, doesn't it? And as you just saw, the French doors also work great if you wish to throw in a thunderstorm. Pretty chilly, huh? I've learned to keep the storm effects to a minimum, though. If they go on for too long, people start popping up in the audience and running out to the restrooms, and that can be terribly distracting. 86 the storm? That's better. I got the feeling you were just about to rush off the aisle. If you could hold it until intermission, I'd be extremely grateful. To get back to the subject, sliding doors are good, especially for sudden entrances. And I usually make sure to show the base of a staircase beyond, so you get the sense the house is at least 2 stories high. The characters can come and go up and down the stairway to their rooms, presumably. A passageway here provides them entrances and exits to the kitchen and other rooms downstairs. Off up right, there is a door. Its purpose is to create the sound effect for people coming into and going out of the house. For people coming into, thank you. Another door above the fireplace leading to a parlor provides yet another access for the murderer to do his thing, or hers, should I choose to use it for that purpose. When it comes to killers, I'm an equal opportunity playwright. Now, I'd like to direct your attention to your programs. Tonight, each of you got a character card on your program. I want you to assume the role of that character. From the audience, not up here on stage. I hired actors for that. But it is up to each of you to discover who, if not you, is the killer. Trust me, I'm going to ask you later to question our cast. And that brings us to the subject of suspects. I'd like you to meet the possible murderers in tonight's little mystery comedy. There are quite a few of them. I mean, it wouldn't be much fun trying to guess who the killer is if there were only a couple of people to choose from, now would it? Let's start with the characters that you saw earlier. Tony, Allegra, hey guys, come on back in. Oh, I need to tell you that this is the living room of the powerful and ruthless millionaire, Edward Worthington III. You'd be surprised how much time I put into thinking of just the right names for my plays as characters. Edward Worthington fits a strong man with a mature personality, doesn't it? And the third suggests old money handed down through several generations. Admit it, you wouldn't conjure up that image if I had named him Jack Sprat, now would you? But you'll meet Edward later. Most of the other characters, as you'll soon discover, have very strong feelings toward the man, including these two. This is Edward's wife, Allegra, his second wife. Help me out.
When Edward grew tired of his first wife, Justine, he divorced her and married me. It's an old story. Middle-aged man dumps first spouse for trophy wife. I suppose I should just be grateful he didn't name me Heisman.
No, not a chance, my dear. I do go for laughs, but I do draw a line at low comedy. But Allegra suits you perfectly. The name is beautiful and mysterious, like you.
Thank you. I shall do my best to live up to it.
I'm Allegra's brother, Tony Blackwell. I'm a playboy. Can I help it if women find me irresistible?
Oh my goodness.
How about meeting me after the show, gorgeous? I know this quiet little place, but we can have an intimate supper for two. Afterward, we can go to my place, put on some romantic music,
No! You better not make any plans for later, Tony. Why? If I decide to make you the murderer, you might find yourself in an intimate little jail cell.
That's true. How about a rain check?
I use playboys in my shows fairly often. They invariably try to seduce one of the young women. A sweet, innocent maid, for example. That adds suspense to the story. Will she succumb to his charms, or won't she? That's called a subplot. But at any rate, madam, if you do make a date with Tony, I'm talking to you, be advised that I absolve myself of all responsibility for his actions once the show is over. I can control him here on the stage, but out there in the real world, well, moving right along. Why don't you two be seated while I continue the introductions? Justine, Deborah. Allegra mentioned Justine Worthington, Edward's ex-wife. This is she and their daughter, Deborah, a college student. Now, Justine, what are your feelings toward your former husband?
I despise you.
This is a G-rated show.
Old goat. When we married, I was young and attractive. I gave Edward a lovely daughter, Deborah. But when I failed to provide him a male heir, he could mold to become as heartless and power-hungry as he is. He made my life a living nightmare.
Poor Mom. Father didn't mistreat me. He ignored me. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I had long curls that fell to my waist. One day, I took a pair of scissors and chopped off all my hair, down to a 1-inch fur cut. That was years before girls ever considered such a style. They were beautiful curls. I thought that if I looked like a boy, that maybe Father would pay attention to me. I don't even think he noticed.
I might have been able to forgive Edward for how he treated me, but his behavior toward our daughter, I will resent him for that till the day I die. Or he does.
You get the picture? Please, be seated, ladies. Edward has one more family member, his sister, Beatrice Worthington. Beatrice helped raise Edward since their parents were jet setters who were constantly zipping around the globe, leaving their offspring at home in the care of nursemaids and servants. Beatrice? Beatrice is somewhat befuddled, and it's possible that Edward allows her to live in his household more from a sense of duty than any actual feelings of affection for his sister.
Did somebody call me?
Yes, Miss Worthington, please, come down and Say hello to all the lovely people.
People? Oh, hello! It's so nice to see you. I don't go out much, so I rarely get to meet anyone except Edward's associates who call occasionally. But I never seem to understand what they're talking about. Oh dear, I didn't realize so many guests were coming to Edward's birthday party. I don't think we'll have nearly enough food.
Don't fret, Miss Worthington. They won't be joining us for dinner.
Good. Oh dear, it isn't that you're all welcome.
Consider yourselves lucky. Stage food is seldom what it's supposed to be. Mashed bananas with potatoes, that sort of thing. Starving actors usually love dinner scenes and will eat anything that's not nailed down. But still, there are some food substitutions that even they shudder to think about. You did very nicely, Miss Worthington. Why don't you join Allegra and Tony at the table?
All right.
As Beatrice mentioned, tonight's gathering is for a special occasion, Edward Worthington's birthday. His 50th, in fact. Now, if you're wondering why Justine would be present at such an event, it's because she was ordered to. And since Edward signed her alimony checks, Justine bit the bullet and she showed up. The birthday boy and his current wife haven't been getting along very well recently. I suspect Edward wished Justine present to remind Allegra how easily he can dispose of her if she crosses him one time too many. I doubt if it's crossed his mind that she could get fed up with him and dispose of him in another way. Baby brother Tony would only be too willing to help, but I digress. Let me bring out the other party guests. Roy, Connie. Roy Phillips is Edward's business manager. He is responsible for overseeing Edward's vast fortune, which includes the money he inherited, as well as the millions generated yearly by Worthington Enterprises, a conglomerate of newspapers and television stations and other media-related companies. It is a staggering responsibility that requires a serious-minded individual for the job. No wonder Roy is always uptight and displays all the warmth and emotion of a bicycle.
If Edward wants to laugh, he can hire a comedian. I have worked for Edward for 20 years. My employer does a brilliant job of running his business, but it depends on me completely to manage his finances. Sometimes I wonder if he realizes how well I do my job.
Well, I have no doubt that you're great at it. And they say behind every great man stands a great woman. Oh, Connie, that's just a figure of speech.
Ain't that? Never mind.
The woman standing behind Roy, figuratively speaking, is his wife, Connie. She and her husband are as mismatched as striped pants on a plaid t-shirt. Connie is as giddy as Roy is somber.
Oh, I'm not that bad. He's just saying that because I got lost in the super Walmart for an entire day. It could happen to anyone.
To be fair, I will add that she spent part of that time looking for her car in the parking lot.
You've done that too, right?
Oh, if you can help Connie find her way to the sofa, we can continue.
Bessie, maybe.
I am
Oh,
so
it's
sorry.
Another guest tonight is Edward's personal secretary, Peggy Sue Brumley. Peggy Sue? Peggy Sue comes from Alabama, possibly with a mantle water heat. And it's possible. And I say that because, well, Peggy Sue is your typical Southern belle. She goes by both her first and middle names, of course. South of the Mason-Dixon line, you'll find lots of Peggy Sues, Peggy Jeans, Peggy Lees, Peggy Anns, whatever.
Well, that helps you tell us Peggy's part, sugar.
Well, shut my mouth! Say hi to all the folks, honey child.
Hi, y'all.
I confess I have a great affection for Southern women. They're charming and funny and very bright, though they're very good at hiding that fact when they want to. And they can easily get away with murder because, well, you would never suspect a sweet young thing like Peggy Sue to be capable of such a grisly crime.
Well, I certainly hope not. I don't know why Walter would suggest such a very murder, indeed. The very idea just gives me the willies, and besides, you would have to dislike somebody heaps and heaps to want them dead. And I get along fine with everybody. Well, just about.
And Edward?
Edward can be awfully demanding at sometimes and real rude when he's in a bad mood. And he gets in bad moods often. I admit he does ruffle my feathers sometimes, but you can't murder someone for having an unpleasant disposition, can you?
Anything's possible. But why don't you join the family at the table, Lady Sue?
Sure, darling.
I have one more business associate of Edward's to introduce. Lawrence? Lawrence Tate is a lawyer, but that doesn't necessarily make him the villain of the piece. There's no doubt that Lawrence can draw up the legal paper. Why, if Lawrence had been around in 1776, he could have whipped out the Declaration of Independence in 15 minutes.
Thank you. I accept the compliment because it happens to be true. You might say I'm especially adept at drafting the modern equivalents of the Declaration of Independence to it, divorce papers. If you don't believe me, just ask Justine Worthington. It's also possible that Allegra Worthington might be able to attest to that fact in the near future. Also, both women have learned the hard way that I can write a marriage contract that is ironclad, one that protects Edward from fortune hunters with complete success.
Thank you for the information, Lawrence.
Anytime. You'll receive my bill in the mail.
I have no one except for myself to believe. I didn't create him. All right, one more set of introductions and then we'll get this show on the road. The servants. Staff, please join us. Now, in real life, it would take the staff the size of a small platoon to run a mansion as large as Worthington Manor, but for our purposes, these four will represent the household staff quite nicely. Sound off, troops!
I am Hollister, the butler. I picture Worthington Manor as a huge ocean liner, of which I am the captain. As the other servants can tell you, I run a tight ship.
That's the truth, and I like it that way. I'm Mrs. Vickers, the housekeeper. Mr. Worthington's home is a showplace, and I intend to keep it that way.
Amina, the cook. Somebody forgot to give me a last name. So it's just Dinah. I do my job, I keep my ears open and mouth shut. You'd be surprised what I can tell you about the people who live under this roof. You're welcome.
I'm Edith, the maid. I'm kind of shy, and I wish I didn't have to stand for you to talk about myself. I heard what you said about Mr. Tony trying to seduce maids, and that makes me nervous too.
Don't worry, my dear. We'll deal with Tony when the time comes. Now, if I may take center stage. Well, here you have them. The cast of characters in our little mystery comedy tonight. Well, most of them. They include, as you'll recall, Edward's current wife and her playboy brother, his ex-wife and their daughter, his sister, his sister, his sister, his business manager and his wife, his personal secretary, his lawyer, and the household staff. They will begin the play while I summon Edward Worthington, the key figure in our story tonight. Now, can we get a blackout and some good music to provide for the transition, please?
I just have named hors d'oeuvres figures.
Put them on the table, Edith. Though I doubt anyone will have much of an appetite.
That would be a shame. I just prepared a wonderful dinner. Pot roast, gravy, with potatoes.
Ugh. She could have saved herself the trouble and opened a can of Spam. Believe me, this crowd won't have their fun over cooking.
What do you mean?
I mean, the guests know Mr. Worthington would invite me here for the pleasure of their company. He's barely civil to them, at best. You mark my words. The boss is up to something.
I hope it doesn't get unpleasant. I hate the sea.
Then you'd better find a broom closet to take shelter in. I know Mr. Worthington, and I know what he's capable of.
You come on in here, Miss Beatrice. Hollis will announce dinner when it's ready. I'm hungry. I found her sitting at the dining room table with a knife in one hand and a fork in the other. I'll take this.
There's a tray of Ina's lovely hors d'oeuvres on the table, Miss Beatrice. Why don't you have some of those?
I believe I will. I have to get back to my Brussels sprouts. Edith, come with me. You better bring in another tray of hors d'oeuvres.
Yes, ma'am.
If you could keep her in here, I'd appreciate it.
I think she'll be content where she is.
Edith!
Miss Beatrice, I need you to sit right here and wait for the others. They'll be here shortly. I have to check the parlor should anyone wish to retire there after dinner.
Retire? Is time to go to bed?
No, Miss Beatrice. Just enjoy your snack.
You want some? You can have the snacks with the black things on them.
No, thank you. There are some lovely mints, too. I'll check on you later. That poor woman. Oops!
Nasty.
I feel like a hypocrite. Besides, what do you get someone who makes more money in a day than you do in a lifetime? A doormat everyone can kneel on to kiss his feet?
I think he owns several already. What did you get him?
A necktie. It was the closest thing to a noose that I could think of. What about you?
A gold-plated pen and pencil set. Since everything Edward touches turns to gold anyway, I figured they were appropriate.
Presents? Are those for me?
No, Beatrice, they're for your brother. It's Edward's birthday.
It is? That's right, it is! Oh dear, I forgot to buy him a present. Maybe I could give him something I happened to pick up.
That's not necessary. I'll take that.
Hors d'oeuvres. They look good.
Most of them are.
I wasn't hungry anyway. Ah!
What is it?
Some kind of beetle, I think. Must have come in at the French doors.
It's clouding over. The TV weatherman said there was a storm approaching.
How appropriate. We get tempestuous inside as well as out.
Tony, Edward has been very difficult to deal with lately. Try not to do anything that might upset him.
I'll try, sister dear, but the very fact that I breathe the same air as Edward seems to upset him.
Excuse me.
Oh! More nipples! How nice!
I'll put these over here.
You're looking very pretty to me, Edith.
It must be the dress.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwell. You look nice with your tuxedo and all.
Edith, I imagine Ina could come up with something for you to do in the kitchen. Why don't you go find out?
Yes, ma'am.
Really, Tony? Leave the girl alone. You'd be better off trying to charm some young heiress who can support you. I don't think Edward is going to allow me to help you out much longer.
The old skinflint. But don't worry, Allegra. I have enough charm to go around with both young heiresses and pretty maids. The guests are starting to arrive.
Is the Avon lady here?
No, Beatrice. You are a nurse.
What a good idea.
Come in. Let me take your coats.
Thank you, Hollister.
The life of the party is here.
The Phillipses.
Hey, Roy. Old boy.
Tony, Allegra,
Roy, Connie.
Allegra,
at Walmart.
You might be right, but I'll ask the next time I'm there.
You do that.
Where's our host?
We'll be down shortly. Make yourselves comfortable. I'll get us something to drink.
Care for an hors d'oeuvre?
Don't mind if I do. Good evening, Miss Beatrice. May I join you? I guess so.
Eat the snacks with the black things on them. You rang, Mrs. Worthington?
Yes, Edith, you can begin to serve the wine.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Roy, how are things at the office?
Under control. How are things wherever it is you spend your time?
Couldn't be better, Roy. Couldn't be better.
Come in, Miss Brumley. Let me take your coat.
I'll have to get Edith to bring in the Southern Comfort.
Here, Hollister, be a lay of always.
Or maybe a pint of Jack Daniels.
Miss Brumley.
Evening, everybody.
My goodness, Peggy Sue, that is the biggest present I have ever seen. What is it?
For Edward, probably a money clip.
Actually, it's a year's supply of caramel corn. The clerk assured me that it wouldn't get stale.
What does he care? He probably retired after he made that sale.
Allegra, honey, don't be silly. It didn't cost a whole heap. It's a token gift anyway. Edward already has everything that his little heart could possibly desire.
Does he now?
Roy, Tony, y'all looking mighty spiffy tonight.
So do you, Peggy Sue.
Good evening.
In fact, they ought to outlaw a dress like that on a woman like you. I'd say the combination could be highly combustible.
Flatterer.
Why? Not a moment too soon.
I wouldn't mind a little bubbly. Mrs. Phillips, thank you, Edith.
Miss Beatrice, would you care for a glass? I guess so. Wait, no, I don't want it. And this is not Sprite. I don't want it.
Go and set up the second round, Edith.
Yes, ma'am.
Peggy Sue.
What thing? Sorry.
That must be Lawrence.
Ah, Mr. Tate, please come in.
You were right, Allegra.
Well, it must be he, or the delivery boy from Domino's. And I know for a fact that Anna cooked a roast beef, gravy, baked potatoes.
This way. Mr. Tate.
Good evening, Lawrence.
Everyone,
Good grief, Lawrence. Why do you have your briefcase? This is a party. You attach that thing to your wrist with a handcuff, like a diplomatic courier.
No, Roy. There are papers inside that Edward insists I bring him. My briefcase is upside down. However, this is for him as well. Now, if you'll excuse me, he asked me to join him in his suite as soon as I arrived.
How typical of Edward. Even on his birthday, he never stops thinking of business.
What was that? If someone's stomach's rumbling, they could have a snack with the black things on them.
it was thunder. At least everyone arrived before the storm.
Yes, everyone is here. Now everyone is here. Justine, who invited you to the party?
Edward, and he didn't invite me. He ordered me to be here. Father told me to drive down from college as well. Since he pays the tuition, I didn't have much of a choice. Did I?
Deborah, dear.
Hello, Aunt Bee. Justine, dear, why didn't you come front door. Did you get lost?
No, Connie, my sense of direction is fine. I didn't care to have Hollister greet me at the door like a guest. This used to be my home, and he used to be my butler. The situation would be awkward for both of us. I prefer to let myself in.
Come on, Mom. Let's go hang up our coats.
I set out games in the parlor if anyone cares to play after dinner.
Mrs. Vickers, Justine and Deborah Worthington just arrived unexpectedly. I'm afraid you'll have to set out 2 more take plates at the dinner table.
It's done. I knew they were coming.
Why didn't you tell me?
You didn't ask.
More wine, anyone? Why, Mrs. Worthington, I mean, the other play. Hey, Miss Deborah, would you two care for some wine? Thanks. Thank you, Edith.
Set the tray on the table, Edith. Help me check the dining room one last time. You can ring if you need anything.
Ina is a great cook, so at least we'll get a decent meal out of this fiasco. What's for dinner?
Roast beef, gravy, whipped potatoes.
That sounds good.
Deborah, darling, why don't you and your mother join us? Sit a spell.
All right, this will do fine.
My. What a gathering. Edward's dearest friends and loving family. What a joke.
Did someone tell a joke? I must have missed it.
Forget it, Beatrice. Okay, let's tell Miss Vickers to call the organ man.
Edward is coming down.
Oh, get up, everybody! We have to toast the birthday boy. Get up. Here, Lawrence. Happy birthday, Edward. Cheers.
Freeze! A playwright plays all of the roles in his head as he writes the show. I needed a really good actor to play this part. So I thought I'd jump in and do Edward for you. Stage food. Carry on.
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip.
Enough, Beatrice. 2 hips are good for anyone.
I see you've all managed to arrive. Good. I promise you this will be a night you'll all remember.
Here, Edward. You need yourself a glass of wine.
Thank you, Peggy Sue.
Happy birthday, sugar.
Be seated, everyone. I have an announcement to make. When a man reaches the half-century mark, he begins to think, where have I been? Where am I going? What do I plan to do with the rest of my life?
Your name, Sir Worthington?
Yes, Edith, tell all the servants I wish to see all of you in here now.
Yes, sir.
As I was saying, what do I plan to do with the rest of my life? I, for one, intend to make some important changes.
Changes? What kind of changes?
That's precisely what I brought you all together to discuss.
Edith informed us that you wish to see us, Mr. Worthington.
Yes, Hollister, I wanted all of my family members, closest business associates, and servants present while I make an announcement. Everyone in this room depends on me to provide them a living. And thus far, I provided for you all very nicely. You would think my generosity would gain me your appreciation, if not affection. However, what someone in this room feels is resentment, perhaps even hatred. It has come to my attention that one among you is a traitor.
You suspect one of us is your enemy?
I don't suspect, I know. And I have proof, Lawrence. afterwards bring me this. Inside is the evidence of the traitor's duplicity. I promise you before the night is over, this person will pay dearly.
Edward, if you're planning to punish us, why not do it now and get it over with?
I was wondering the same thing, Mr. Worthington, if you don't mind my saying so.
I intend to let this worm squirm a while longer before squashing it. I see you brought me some gifts. After dinner tonight, I will open them, concluding with this, my birthday present to myself. That is when I'll rid myself of a backstabbing psychopath once and for all. But for now, let the festivities begin. What are we having for dinner, Ina?
Your favorite, sir? Roast beef, gravy, whipped potatoes.
I can hardly wait. It sounds like a dinner to die for. Now, as you no doubt guessed, that was a blackout to show the end of Act 1, Scene 1. That's the scene in my shows where I usually introduce you to the characters and give you an idea of their relationships to one another. Now, in tonight's production, the scene was shorter than usual since they and I told you something about them before the play began. Now let's get into Scene 2, about 2 hours later. This is the scene where the plot thickens. Make that the plot like gravy thickens.
I told you, keep the name of the show out of your mouth.
Freeze! Matrix mode. Chris Rock wishes. That's your seat. That's your seat. Come on, you all. I have to get the title in there somewhere. Okay. Act 1, Scene 2.
Edward, darling, what are you doing in here all by your lonesome? Nearly everybody's in the parlor playing games until you're ready to make your big announcement or whatever. You know, I don't think anyone's really all that interested in Monopoly or Clue.
I know, that's okay. Why don't you and I slip off and play one of our own in private?
Nuh-uh, sugar. We can't do that. Not here. You know that.
I don't like being told no, Peggy Sue. You know that.
Now, don't lose your temper, sweetie. For all that I know, I could be the one that you're planning to fire or whatever.
You. Have you been up to no good, Peggy Sue?
Of course not. I would never do anything to hurt you, but someone could have told you that I have been. Allegra, for instance, she just hates me, and I hate it when somebody hates me.
Allegra has never said a word against you.
If she hasn't, it's because she's afraid to. I'm sure she suspects that I'm more than an employee to you, but she doesn't dare confront you about it. She knows that if she made you pick between the two of us, you'd throw her out like a used Kleenex.
You think so?
Oh, sure. You told me you made her sign a prenuptial agreement before you married her, just like the one Justine had to.
Of course. I'm too smart to let some fortune hunter take me for millions.
But before you divorce them, your wives get to live like queens. Allegra has ridden the merry-go-round long enough. It's somebody else's turn. Besides, you might have finally found the woman that you want to live with for the rest of your life.
We'll see, Peggy Sue. After tonight, there could be quite a few changes.
Fine. If you'll excuse me, I need to slip into one of the upstairs bathrooms and freshen up a bit. Don't go making your big announcement till I get back. Actually, come to think of it, you wouldn't give me a hint as to who you're recommending tonight?
You know I can't do that, Peggy Sue.
Even if I pout?
Even if you pale.
They make those little lines around your mouth. Anyways, I'll be back in 2 seconds with the lamb snail, sugar.
Here you are, Edward.
You were looking for me, Beatrice?
Yes,
What is it?
I listened to what you said to all of us earlier, but I'm confused.
I expected that.
I think you're unhappy with one of us.
At least one.
And you're gonna punish someone?
That's my plan.
I hope it isn't me.
Have you been naughty?
No, I don't think so. I tried really hard not to be.
Then what are you worried about?
Those papers you put in your pocket, I think they're papers to what do you call them? To coming at home.
Commitment papers?
Yes, that's it. You would do that, little mama, would you? Would you? I've lived here all my life. Both of us have. I don't want to go anywhere else.
Well, I would hate to banish you, Beatrice, but if you've done something really bad and need to be punished,
I wouldn't. I haven't.
we'll see. Beatrice, do you know a Mr. Jameson?
Jameson? No, I don't think so.
Paul Jameson.
Paul Jameson. Oh, I know where I've heard that name. The other day, when I walked into your library, your lawyer, Mr. Tate, was it? He was on the phone with someone, and he said, "I'll be right back with you, Mr. Jameson."
That's very interesting.
You wish to see me, Mr. Wellington?
Yes, Hollister, my sister is tired. I thought you might have Ina brew her a cup of tea to refresh her.
I'd be glad to. Miss Beatrice, why don't you come with me?
Where are we going, Hollister?
To the kitchen, my dear. We're going to have some tea.
A tea party?
I suppose, if you'd like.
I would.
Wearing a very nice perfume, Miss Beatrice. Is it new?
Yes, it's called Primrose.
It won't take but a few minutes.
All right, if you insist. Frank, the embers have gone out. What's so important you pulled me away from the table? I own Boardwalk and Park Place. If anyone lands on my property while I'm in here, I'll lose a fortune in rent.
For Pete's sake, Lawrence, it's just a game.
One that you were losing. I hope you do a better job at managing Edward's financial affairs than you do at Monopoly. So what do you want to see me about?
Those papers Edward had you bring him, what are they?
Good grief, Roy. You know I can't answer such a question. How long do you think Edward would retain me as his lawyer if I just went around revealing privileged information?
Look, it's... You know what Edward said about there being a traitor among the group here tonight? Well, the thing is, I've transferred some of Edward's funds, quite a sizable amount, into a banking account in my name.
Why would you do that?
Because a major television station that Edward has wanted for a long time now is going on the market. If the owners knew that he wanted it, they'd double their asking price. So I plan to make them an offer in my name, purchase it, then revert it back to Worthington Enterprises.
I see.
Yes, now that I've explained it, but if Edward saw the transfer of funds and didn't understand why I did it...
Say no more, say no more. Want some free advice? If I were you, I'd hold on to that bad Delphi card you drew.
This is no joking matter.
You're right. Why are you telling me this? Why not tell Edward?
If he doesn't suspect me of betraying him, then why call it to his attention? He's never cared where I place his funds before now.
Why bring his attention to it if you don't have to, right?
Yes, now, if you'll just let me see if those papers relate to me,
I don't know.
What?
I have no idea what's in that envelope. Edward instructed me to go by his office on my way here, look in the desk drawer, and take out the blank envelope with the wax seal on it. He told me to bring it here, immediately upon arrival. That's what I did.
I assumed you knew.
As did everyone else, I expect. Edward could have brought the envelope home himself. I figured he had me bring it, so that he could prove a point of having me hand it to him, to stir everybody up. The fact is, I'm as much in the dark as you are about its contents.
So the papers could relate to you as well as anyone else.
Me? I haven't done anything to feel guilty about. My conscience is clear.
Is it really?
Roy! The game's over. Just seen one. I would have, but I hid my money and forgot where I put it. Oh! Here it is! I must have deposited it in my bra. Now I'm flat and busted. My goodness, you're a pair of gloomy gusses. What's the matter?
Nothing, dear. I was just going out for a breath of fresh air.
But, Roy, it's gonna storm. Oh dear, I wish you wouldn't go outside while it's lightning. You could be struck dead as a doornail. Whatever that is.
I figured he, figures the wrath of Mother Nature is nothing compared to Edward's.
Huh?
Lawrence, we rolled for you and Roy. I took all your money. You went bankrupt.
So I heard.
I think this belongs to me too. The way I see it, get it while you can. Edward taught me that. Don't worry, dear. I'll hold my temper. At least until your father makes his announcement. After that, anything goes.
I wish you'd get it over with. I hate suspense. I love murder mysteries, but I always read the last chapter first just to find out who did it.
If you feel a rumble, it's Agatha Christie spinning in her grave. Calm down, Aggie.
Murders make me nervous, and when I get nervous, I break out hives. It's just awful.
I'm sure it is. It's a good thing calamine lotion is so cheap. So, Lawrence, how about telling us what's in the envelope Edward is carrying near where his heart would be, if he had one? I'll make it worth your while.
Roy was wondering the same thing just moments ago. As I told him, I don't know.
You don't? I thought it might be. Never mind.
Why should you be concerned, Deborah?
Father arranged for the college to send him a copy of my grades each semester. Not that he cares about me. He's more interested in how his money's being spent. I've had some problems lately, and I haven't been doing so hot in most of my classes.
And you're worried that he'll cut off your tuition?
Yes.
If he tries it, I'll cut off his head.
Oh my goodness.
We won't know what he's planning until he decides to tell us. Until then, the contents of that envelope will remain a mystery.
I'm begging honey, fresh as a daisy egg. I thought Andrew was in here. Have y'all seen him by chance?
Not lately, which is how I like it.
After his announcement, he's been lining up.
Not low enough. I prefer 6 feet under.
Mom! You don't mean that.
Don't I?
The fridge door's open. I suppose he went outside.
No, Roy did. I better go find him before it starts to rain and he gets soaked. I don't think they make dry suits, do they? Excuse me.
So, you've made yourself fresh as a daisy and are looking for Eddie, honey. Just how personal a secretary are you, Peggy Sue?
I don't have the foggiest notion as to what you mean.
Oh, I think you do. It seems to me you're setting yourself up to be the third Mrs. Worthington the third.
What Edward and I do is none of your business.
Maybe, and maybe not. If Eddie, honey, divorces Allegra and marries you, he might decide 2 ex-wives is more than he wants to support. I was going to ask Lawrence here if that mysterious envelope contains a prenuptial agreement for you to sign, but he says he doesn't know what's in it.
You don't?
Your guess is as good as mine, my dear.
A prenuptial agreement? Oh, golly, I didn't know it could be that. I hope so. I'm gonna go find Edward right now and make him open his gifts.
I guess I just made her day. Darn!
It just occurred to me that Peggy Sue could be my next stepmother.
Look on the bright side, Deborah. If you move back home with Peggy Sue, she should cook you up grits for breakfast.
I'd rather eat grapple. And I'd rather die than live under this roof with father again.
Excuse me. Miss Vickers had me serve coffee in the parlor. Do you want some?
That sounds good. Ladies,
I'd like a cup.
Why not? I might need the caffeine in case I get into a fight before this shindig is over. Mom! Just kidding, dear. Maybe.
I was wondering when I'd catch you alone.
Mr. Blackwell.
It's Tony.
But Miss Vickers
Never
said...
mind what that old dragon told you. She's not around. You look worried. What's the matter?
It's Miss Beatrice.
Beatrice? You mean Miss Looney Tunes?
Don't say that. She just gets confused sometimes.
Sorry. I meant it in the nicest way. Tell me about
Miss Beatrice's behavior has become very odd lately.
it.
More than usual. She started taking things around the house.
Things? What kind of things?
Mostly little decorative items like, a crystal ashtray, a Fabergé egg.
Fabergé? We're not talking cheap trinkets here.
I know some of the items are very valuable.
So what does Beatrice do with them? Sell them?
Oh no, she hides them to take out and look at later, except she tends to know where she puts them. We, the servants, are always finding things stuck away in the strangest places. We put them back where they belong.
There's no harm done then. What's the matter?
We're afraid that Mr. Rivington might have noticed some of the expensive items have gone missing and might think that one of us on the staff is stealing them. Those papers he had the lawyer bring tonight, they could be our dismissal papers. Mine, Ina's, Hollister's, and Mrs. Vickers.
So, if they are, you can tell him that you're all innocent. That his sister has the sticky fingers.
Oh no, we have to put her away! Don't you see, that's what we've been afraid of all along. We all care for Miss Beatrice a great deal, and if we weren't here to protect her...
She probably would have been sent to a funny class a long time ago. There, Edith. Don't cry. I can't stand to see a woman cry. It makes me want to take her in my arms, like this. And piss away the tears, like this.
Oh, Tony! Shh! You mustn't! I mustn't!
Well, there's a strong attraction between us, Edith. You feel it too. There's no need to fight it.
I can't, I'd be dismissed.
Well, Edward doesn't have to know. And what he doesn't know won't hurt us. Everything will be fine, my sweet. Just trust me.
That much of their syrup caught me like camels in a watering hole. Well, another pot. Tell Ina.
Yes, Miss Vickers?
If you have an urge for something sweet, Mr. Blackwell, we'll be serving birthday cake shortly.
I beg your pardon?
You know exactly what I mean. Edith is a nice girl. I intend to see she stays that way.
Is that a threat?
Take it any way you like it. If I see you near Edith again, I'll tell Mr. Worthington what you're up to. You know as well as I how he feels about you. It wouldn't take much to have him throw you out on your ear.
I wouldn't even...
Save your breath, you two-bit gigolo! Edith is off limits! You've been warned.
That witch!
I trust you're not referring to me, brother dear.
No. It's that housekeeper, Mrs. Vickers.
Did she catch you trying to raid the pantry?
It's just talking with the maid.
I told you to stay away from Edith. Mrs. Vickers is very protective towards her.
So I found out.
Forget about the girl. We have bigger worries.
Such as...
Those documents, or whatever it is Edward is carrying around.
What about
They could be our eviction notice.
them? What do you mean?
I mean, they could be divorce papers. If I'm left out in the cold, you would be too. We'd both be penniless.
Divorce? Are things really that bad between you?
Edward has grown tired of me, and I suspect he's already picked my replacement. At first, I thought he was having a mild flirtation with that Dixie Cream donut, Peggy Sue. Now, I'm not so sure.
Peggy Sue? She's a knockout, but you're more sophisticated than she is. More glamorous than she is.
20 years older than she is. The pomade-fed hussy has one thing I don't, Tony. Youth. And that's one thing Edward's money won't buy me.
Edward's money. It should be your money too, if he hadn't made you sign that
But
agreement.
he did. Now, I'm afraid the only way his fortune could possibly become mine is if he were to drop dead before he could divorce me.
There's not much chance of that. Edward is as healthy as a horse.
Well, even horses have their accidents.
Allegra, what are you suggesting?
Nothing, Tony. Nothing at all.
Excuse me, Miss Worthington, Mr. Blackwell.
Yes, Hollister, what is it?
Ina is bringing in the birthday cake. We thought we could gather everyone in here when Mr. Worthington can cut it over his gifts.
Very good, Hollister. Where is Mr. Worthington?
I don't know, madam. I've not seen him since dinner.
Neither have we.
I'll go look for him upstairs. Tony, get everyone in here.
All right.
Hollister, get everything prepared. I'll be back in a few minutes.
As you wish, madam.
Oh. Better have a towel handy, Hollister. Before the night is over, someone may be crying their eyes out.
I'll keep that in mind, sir. And if there's any justice, it will be you.
Set the cake here, Ina. The cake looks beautiful, Ina.
Too good for the likes of Mr. Worthington. But thank you, Edith.
You watch what you say, Ina. You never know who might be listening.
If someone snitches to that cold-hearted monster, let out. I'd have quit long ago if it weren't for Miss Beatrice.
Why, we all would have. However, we must hold our tongues for her sake.
She'd be lost without us.
Yes.
I know. But he makes me so mad sometimes. At dinner, he had the nerve to say mine with potatoes tasted a little odd.
He did compliment the gravy, though. Said it was nice and thick.
He was just trying to get on my good side. He knew he had made me angry. One of these days, I'll carve him up along with the roast beef.
Oh, Ina!
That's quite enough. Mr. Worthington left instructions that champagne is to be served in the cake. Ina, Edith, come with me.
I'd better check the downstairs bathroom for some fresh hand towels.
Well. It seems my envelope has created quite the stir. It seems everyone under this room has something to answer for. And they will, before the night is over.
We just made it! I told you the rain wouldn't hold off for much longer. Oh! Edward! Rory went out for some fresh air. I had to go find him before it started to rain. He got soaked.
And you did. Will miracles never cease?
Oh, you're teasing. It wasn't easy though. You have such a large estate.
Which, thankfully, I can afford. Can't I, Roy? I mean, my investments are sound, aren't they?
Of course, Edward. Why would you ask?
I haven't gone over the books with you in quite a while. I say we should go over them, say, sometime next week.
If you wish, I will. I'll schedule sometime next Friday afternoon.
Monday, 9 o'clock, sharp.
Whatever you say.
Man, I've seen a lot of storms in my days. That was just crazy. Just like boom, booms, booms.
It's party time. Be seated, everyone.
Goodness, Edward. I thought you had disappeared into thin air. Where on earth have you been?
Here and there. Have a seat, Peggy Sue.
Sure thing, darling.
Place them on the table with the cake.
Remain with us, please. I wouldn't dream of leaving you servants at the festivities.
Yes, Mr. Worthington.
Ah, and there's my darling wife, Allegra. Last but not least. Calm down, Allegra. Sit. The moment you've all been anxiously waiting has arrived. Now let's see. What shall I do first? Open the gifts. Cut the cake. Open the gifts. Are you sure? The cake looks delicious. You've outdone yourself, why not?
Glad you liked it.
I don't know if I can resist it till later. I did work hard to make it in my honor. What kind of cake is it, Ina?
Devil's food.
Oh, I'm frightened!
I suspect you're not the only one.
Stop toying with us, Edward. You know no one cares about the gifts or the cake or the champagne. Tell us what's in the envelope.
So you prefer cutting to the chase to cutting the cake, do you, my dear? Very well. If you're so consumed with curiosity to know, I'll get on with it. A harmless-looking piece of paper, isn't it? But what a commotion it has caused.
Of course it has, Edward. You're holding someone's fate in your hand.
More than one person's, possibly.
How right you are, daughter. How right you are.
Just tell us who's Edward.
We're all dying to know what's in that envelope.
Get on with it.
Please.
Very well, if you insist. I'll let you do the honors, my dear. Open it.
They're blank.
Down! I've suspected for some time that some, if not all of you, have been keeping secrets from me, perhaps even plotting or scheming to do me harm. The tension I feel in this room is so thick, you could cut it with that knife. I figured it was time to get everything out into the open, and I have. But how did I do this? With a little party game I devised. Let's call it the envelope game. By making each of you think there were papers inside that could expose your deceitful nature, you all projected your worst fears onto the envelope and discussed them amongst yourselves. All I had to do was stay out of sight and listen, and they came tumbling out your little secrets, and I heard them. Roy's private investment with my money, Tony's philandering, Deborah's failing grades, Justine's fear that I'll cut off her support, Beatrice's kleptomania, which my faithful servants have helped cover up. I even learned that inadvertently thanks to a comment Beatrice made. The main secret I set out to discover tonight, namely, the one among you who has been quietly selling information to a Paul Jameson. That's the man who has announced he's writing one of those malicious tell-all biographies about me. I believe the Bar Association frowns upon such unethical behavior, Lawrence. But I will deal with you later. And to conclude my litany of your offenses, there's my devoted wife, Allegra, who told her brother she would like to see me dead.
I didn't. You misunderstood.
I understood perfectly, my dear. It seems the only one among you I can trust is Peggy Sue, my future bride. She's married me for my wealth, but at least she's honest enough to admit it.
Not just the money, honey bunny, I love you too.
I believe you. Almost.
So what do we do now, Edward?
Peggy Sue and I are leaving. I've arranged a weekend getaway for us at a cozy little inn. And when I return, I expect all of you to be gone. I expect each and every one of you out of this house. Soon you'll all be out of my life forever.
Everyone, please, remain calm. There is a generator that will activate at any moment. There, you see?
Cairo corn syrup and red food coloring. I'll probably get a sugar rush like you wouldn't believe. Now, as you may have guessed, this is the conclusion of Act 1. And as you may have noticed, I did delay the rain. You're welcome. But at any rate, it is time for intermission, so feel free to get up and stretch your legs. Do whatever you need to do. See you in 10 minutes.
I don't think he's okay.
So, Edward Worthington III is dead, and one of you killed him. Welcome back, it's me, Walter. Now, Act 1 came easily enough, but Act 2 is the tricky one. A murder has been committed, and now it must be solved. In some of my mysteries, I isolate the characters, say, on an island, or mountaintop, or in the middle of the forest during a blizzard. Now, and the murderer will cut the phone lines to trap everyone there with him or her. In this type of scenario, the murder is usually solved by an amateur sleuth among the group, a Miss Marple or Jessica Fletcher wannabe, for example. And at other times, such as this one, I bring in a homicide detective, and I will be playing such a character, Lieutenant James McMillan. But I can't just sit back and let them do all the work. Now, if you've been writing down notes on how to commit a murder, you should have written down that you must provide your suspects with motives and an opportunity to do hit the victim. Everyone in this play had a motive to kill Edward Worthington, except for Peggy Sue, who stood to gain access to a fortune had he lived.
I have rotten luck.
Not as rotten as Edward.
Anyway, as I was saying, Everyone except for Miss Dixie Cup had a motive. And everyone here had an opportunity to stab the man in the back. Literally. Well, in case you're curious as to how we created that great special effect, well, Connie, during the blackout, took the cake knife and hid it underneath the pile of napkins on the table, while Roy took a matching knife handle with a magnet attached from there and stuck it to Edward's coat. From there, Edward took a blood capsule from his pocket, placed it in his mouth, and bit it down. Simple, huh? But I digress. In Act 2, Lieutenant McMillan, I, will search for clues, question our suspects, and, by his conclusion, discover who murdered Edward Worthington III. Keep your eyes and your ears open. Who knows? You might guess who the killer's identity is before I do. Now, let's show continue. You all told me as a group what has happened up to this point. And at this point, I intend to question each of you again, individually. I'll start with you, Miss Brumley.
Thank goodness. I, for one, am anxious to wash my hands.
Everyone should, before they get ink all over the furniture. Miss Beatrice has already finger-painted the coffee tabletop.
Clumsy me.
Don't fret, Miss Beatrice. Miss Vickers will clean it for you.
Lying to the scratch.
I regret the inconvenience, but it's standard procedure to fingerprint all suspects at the crime scene.
If we're excused, I'm going to my suite to cleanse my digits.
May I suggest we gather in the parlor? There's a hot bath across the hall. The staff can gather in the kitchen until you're ready for us.
That's a good idea. All right, everybody out.
So, what would you like to know, Lieutenant?
Let's see. Miss Brumley, you told me you were Edward's personal secretary. How long have you served in that capacity?
About 6 months or so, I guess. I've been working for Worthington Enterprises for a couple of years, but when Edward's personal secretary retired last June, he pulled me from the secretarial pool and gave me your job.
Look.
Manners. Well, obviously, your relationship with Mr. Worthington became very personal if he announced his intention tonight to marry you.
What can I say?
Where was that phone?
Who was it? Raise your hand. Who was it?
Go ahead, take it. Let's get away.
Who was it? No, it wasn't me, sweetheart. Hello. Oh, Mama, how are you doing? How's the family in Alabama? Can I sit with you? Thank you ever so much. Oh my gosh. Wait, let me tell you. Mom, something awful has happened. And Edward, he's dead. I know. Right. You're telling me. Okay. Well, I'll be home for Thanksgiving. I'll tell you all about it. Yes. I love you, Mama. You Grandma all my love. Bye-bye. It's too late for that, sweetheart. Continue.
So about your relationship with Edward. Personal? Was it?
Yes, it did. What can I say? It happens. I would have made Edward a good wife. Better than that. Ice Cube that he's married to. Allegra can shoot you a look that would give you frostbite. If I had to guess, I'd say she's your murderer.
Possibly. But it's been my experience that a jilted spouse often strikes out at the competition. In this case, you.
You mean she was going after me with that pink sticker? The very idea just gives me the willies.
Well, it's possible that Mrs. Worthington murdered her husband, but I'm just saying that there are other possibilities.
I have to admit. You're right. You know, I would rather sew my lips shut with a sewing machine than say anything awful about of both of them. And he threatened criminal charges against Roy, as well as warrants and that Jameson guy to the Bar Association, whatever that means.
So I noted. And his sister, ex-wife, and daughter, and servants all had motives to end his life as well. And Miss Phillips could have murdered Mr. Worthington to save her husband. If there's anything worse than having no suspects in a murder case, it's having too many. But apparently, you're the only one in the house who stood to lose, not gain, by Mr. Worthington's death. You're the only one I'm sure didn't stab the man.
Thanks, ever so much. May I go home now? I'm about to absolutely collapse from exhaustion. But before I do, I need to check the classified ads.
Classified?
Why, yes, Lieutenant. When I lost Edward, I lost my job. If Allegra is going to take over Worthington Enterprises, then you can bet your boots the very first thing she'll do is give me the X. I wish I hadn't said it like that. Just gave myself the shivers again. A goose just walked over my grave.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, that's what we say in the South when you get the shivers. A goose just walked over my grave.
It's a quaint expression for sure. Though I can't see how anyone would link poultry with the hereafter. I gather it's used to express a feeling of impending doom.
I guess so. In that case, I bet a whole flock of geese trampled over Edward Cemetery plot a couple hours ago. Anyway, may I go home now, Lieutenant Miller?
Not yet. After I talk with the others, I might have a few more questions for you. Sorry.
That's all right. I'm happy to help in any way I can. I'll be in the parlor if you need.
Thank you. Hey, Pete. McMillan here. Are the fingerprints coming? That's it? The only ones on the handle that weren't smudged belonged to the victim and his wives? That's too bad. Everyone said they saw him hand her a knife to open an envelope. What? Wait, you found traces of what? That could be a vital clue. Excellent work, Pete. Yeah, there's only one suspect who logically could have left that there. But there's someone else. Afraid not. They've all been fingerprinted, as you know, and are washing their hands now. Darn it! There goes our evidence right down the drain. If I'm going to discover who murdered Edward Worthington, I've really got my work cut out for me. No, that wasn't meant to be a pun. Yep. Thanks again, Pete. I'll check you later.
You rang, sir?
Yes, Edith, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Would you mind getting the other servants in here as well as yourself?
Of course, Lieutenant McMillan.
Edith informed us that you wished to see us, Lieutenant.
I do. Be seated, please. I have a few more questions concerning what took place tonight.
I don't know how we can assist you, sir. We were in the kitchen for most of the evening.
It's what happened to the kitchen that I need to know about at this point. I'm specifically interested in finding out about the murder weapon, the knife.
My knife? What about my knife?
Where is it usually kept?
In a butcher's block. It's part of a set.
It's seldom there, though. It's Ina's favorite kitchen tool.
That's true. I use it to slice and dice everything. Not including people, though, in case
I wasn't thinking anything at the moment.
A good sharp knife is hard to come by. I'd like to have it back once the case is closed. Or is that too morbid?
That's too morbid.
I assume you used the knife for preparing dinner?
Naturally. I chopped up some fresh chives to sprinkle on the whipped potatoes.
What else was served?
Roast beef, gravy, Brussels
A
sprouts,
salad?
congealed, yellow and fruit.
At first I considered titling the play The Blood, like Jello congeals. But then I thought, nah. That's pretty gross. I wouldn't want to go see a play with that title now, would you? So you didn't prepare any kind of salad dressing? Say, oil and vinegar?
No, sir.
Mr. Worthington couldn't stand lettuce.
I heard him say once that if he'd been meant to eat green and leafy things, he would have been born a rabbit.
What'd you do with the knife after the meal was prepared, Ina?
Washed it, of course. along with all the other utensils in the dishwasher.
Who touched it after that?
I did. Ina told me to put it on the tray with the saucers and forks and things for the birthday cake. It was still damp, so I wiped it off with a dish towel.
And no one touched it. As in, there were no other fingerprints on the murder weapon except possibly yours or traces of food on it when you brought the knife in here.
No, sir. It wasn't out of my sight the whole time.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. You've all been very helpful.
If it's a matter of any of our fingerprints being on the knife, it should
It's not that, Hollister. The only distinguishable knife, or fingerprints that we've been able to find on the handle belong to Mr. and Mrs. Worthington, whom we know touched it.
I see.
Then how have we helped?
I'll explain later, I hope. But for now, I need to take a quick look around the kitchen, if I may.
As you wish. This way, Lieutenant.
Eden,
Toby, what are you doing here?
close the doors.
Are you eavesdropping on us?
Of course not. I just happen to be listening in this direction. So the murderer didn't leave any prints on the knife?
Not unless it was Mrs. Worthington.
Sis, it wasn't her.
How can you be sure?
Well, for one thing, Edward was stabbed in the back. Allegra was sitting in front of him. If she had picked the knife up off the table and stuck him with it, she would have hit him in the chest.
Maybe, but it was too dark to see. Mr. Worthington could have turned around and start towards the light switch.
Clever girl. As well as pretty. I knew you were special from the first time I laid eyes on you.
You shouldn't.
I know. That's what makes it so much fun. Let's go outside where we can get alone.
Lieutenant McMillan wants to question you too.
Well, not for a while. He's busy in the kitchen with Benny Crocker, Lurch, and the Happy Homemaker. Come on.
But it's cold out there.
Don't worry. I'll keep you warm.
He thinks I did it. The policeman thinks that I killed him.
Why would he, Roy? Why should he suspect you more than anyone else?
He doesn't believe I put that money in my account on Edward's behalf.
Why not? I believe you.
That doesn't count. You're my wife.
I think it counts. A wife should do anything she can help her husband.
Even commit murder.
You think I murdered Edward? That's silly, Roy. If I tried to grab a knife in the dark, I probably would have gotten picky on.
If not, yes. Someone else's. Connie, have you seen the lieutenant? I'd like to volunteer to be questioned first. My nerves are shot.
When it came out the half-assed back across the hall a few minutes ago, I saw him heading towards the kitchen with the servants.
Oh, I meant to ask, what were you doing there so long?
Checking the medicine cabinet for calamine lotion. I didn't find any, but that's alright. The itching has stopped.
Good.
I'm getting better, honey. Before tonight, I haven't broken out in hives for so long, the scratches on my arm sealed up.
I noticed. It was nice having a wife who didn't look like an inept lion tamer for once.
I was thinking about buying some short-sleeve dresses, but I guess it's out now.
I'd say so, Connie. Did you find any aspirin in the medicine chest? I've got a splitting headache.
No, dear, I'm afraid I didn't. I'll bet Allegra keeps some to get me. I'll run up and look.
I'd better come with you. With your sense of direction, you get lost in the neighbor's bathroom.
All right. Poor Edward. He didn't even open his bibs. I think he would have liked the sweater we got him.
Maybe we can take it back to Walmart for a refund.
Have you seen Edith?
No, we have not. Please, excuse us.
Uh-huh.
We can put them in. They were on the hall table next to half bath.
I'm sure they were in a container when I went in. When I came out, they were lying there in a clump.
Here's a vase. You can put them in it.
All right.
But there's something inside. What?
They look like white pebbles.
No problem. So, where's the detective?
I don't know. Shouldn't we wait in the parlor until he's ready to question us?
Why? Nobody else is. I wish whoever poked Edward would fess up so we could all go home. But I don't suppose that's likely to happen.
Mom, you didn't do it, did you? Kill Father?
No, dear. I can't take credit for that. Though I've threatened to lots of times. I know I was always cutting him down, but I didn't do it literally.
I just hope you can convince Lieutenant Colonel of that.
He seems like a pretty smart guy. The lieutenant should realize that if I had been going to knock off Edward, I'd have done it years ago when he left us to marry Allegra, the sharp woman. He'd have a hard time proving that I killed my ex in a fit of anger that lasted 10 years.
If anyone could hold a grudge that long, Justine, you could. Except you wouldn't have needed a knife. That sharp tongue of yours, you could have just licked him to death.
Well, speak of the devil, and she appears. Still here, I'm surprised you didn't make the most of the opportunity and run out to buy a new black dress.
With what? You know I don't have any money of my own, and I'm sure Edward's accounts are frozen for quite some time.
Good point. Speaking of money, the fact that Edward was supporting Deborah and me should be proof that I didn't kill him. I'm not dumb enough to slay the goose that lays the golden eggs.
But tonight, you threatened to cut off your income.
I know, but he's done that for years, every time I ticked him off, which was often. If he actually did stop my alimony checks, I might have considered homicide, but not until then.
The very idea!
Just let me explain.
What's going on?
A meeting of Edward's wives, past, present, and future. We were just waiting for you to join us.
What was going on out there?
This snake in the grass Lawrence just made a pass at me.
Peggy Sue.
Keep your scaly hands to yourself. I was explaining to Lawrence that I'll be looking for a new job now that Edward's dead. He offered me one with his firm and then tried to show me some of the fringe benefits. If Edward had seen what you tried to do, he'd be rolling in his grave. If he were in it yet.
How could Peggy see Lawrence if you were in his grave?
Oh, you know what I meant.
I've felt a tremendous attraction for you for a long time, Peggy Sue. I just couldn't tell you as long as Edward was alive.
Well. It seems Edward's trusted lawyer has yet another motive to murder him.
For once, I have to agree with you, Allegra, although it hurts me like a toothache to admit it.
No! I didn't kill Edward because I too have romantic feelings for Peggy Sue.
It's a good thing because I wouldn't have you on a Christmas tree.
Why? Because I'm not rich? That's what brought you to your boss, wasn't it? His millions?
What if it was? I'm tired of being poor. As my grandma told me, love is sweet and honey, but money lasts forever.
Are you sure you're not listening to Scarlet O'Hara? That ought to teach him a lesson. This Vickers you shouldn't have.
Well, he can't say I didn't warn him.
Don't mind us. We're just passing through. Bye.
What was going on out there?
I don't believe she did that.
Tell me your nose.
It's nothing compared to what my eye is going to look like.
Come on, we'll clean you up in the half bath upstairs.
Doesn't anybody use the front door? When I lived here, we used the front door all the time.
You men, you're all alike.
No, I'm not like Tony because I was just only trying to comfort you.
Yeah, comforted me anymore, and I'd have to send my daddy after you with the shotgun. Everyone's back in here. Are we playing a new game?
No, Aunt Bee, we wouldn't dream of playing a game without you.
That's sweet, Deborah, dear. One of these times I'll surprise you and win one. Are there any nibbles in here? I was hungry earlier and I didn't eat much food. And because I was saving room for some cake. But then nobody cut it.
I noticed you picked at your roast beef and you didn't even touch your whipped potatoes.
There were some nits in here earlier. Now, where did they go? Never mind.
Don't worry, Aunt Bee. I'll get you something. sit on the sofa, Andy.
I have to make a phone call. The ladies will excuse me.
Gladly!
If I hadn't yet, I was going to tell that writer the good news.
Good news? What good news?
That Edward is going to meet his maker. On second thought, I doubt that's where he's headed. Anyway, Lawrence is a very lucky lawyer. Not only is the man who is going to have him this far dead, that Jameson guy will probably pay him a fortune for representing Edward's murder. With a climax like that, Edward Worthington, the third biography, will be a huge bestseller.
I told you, Lawrence is a snake.
You won't get an argument from me.
Did someone ring?
Yes, Edith. My aunt is a little hungry. Will you see if you can find something to serve?
Yes, Miss Deborah, but it might take you a minute. That police detective was searching through everything in the kitchen. The cabinets, the refrigerator, everywhere. I'll do what I can.
He's searching the kitchen? I wonder what for.
Maybe he's hungry too. Sorry, honey. It was an accident.
Maybe I should see a doctor.
I don't know what he could do. Oh, hello again, everybody.
What's the matter? You look a little green around the gills, boy.
I had and I still have a splitting headache, so my wife went to rummage in Allegra's medicine chest for some aspirin, and stupid me took the pill she brought without even looking closely at them.
It wasn't aspirin?
Well, no, I didn't see aspirin, but I did see a vial of big orange pills that looks like the prescription strength Motrin Roy keeps at Homer's headaches. I gave him those before I read that they were Premarin instead. I only gave you 4.
Primer. What's primer?
Double strength estrogen.
You'll know why.
Oh, stop it.
Honey, why don't you sit down?
Connie. Edith is reading some snacks.
Oh, good. Maybe having something on Roy's stomach will help that. You know?
It's hot in here. Why is it suddenly so hot in here? Oh.
Isn't that better?
I can't breathe.
So which had you rather do? Breathe or bleed?
I'll manage this way. I need to sit down.
What happened, Tony?
Mrs. Vickers poked me in the nose.
Oh, you poor thing. If I were you, I would have scratched her eyes out.
I'm sorry, Allegra. Roy took some of your Premarin by mistake. I thought it was Motrin.
What's Premarin?
Female hormones.
Why don't you just tell everybody? I'm so sorry. I don't know what has come over me. Oh.
What's the matter with Mr. Phillips?
He's got in touch with his feminine side.
Actually, he's gotten in touch with my feminine side. It was my prescription he took.
You know, if you've got a couple, could I have some? I'd like to slip some to Lawrence's drink and see how he feels getting pinched.
Whatever happened to topics of conversation I can understand? Like the weather?
Taylor Swift?
Let's talk about murder. Look, I told you that I wouldn't stoop to using a little humor, but Roy and the estrogen bit got out of hand. Straighten up, Roy.
All right.
And Tony, take that toilet paper out of your nose. You look like a walrus.
That's a relief.
Now then, let's talk about
So, Lieutenant McMillan, do you know who murdered my husband?
My ex-husband
information that might prove to be relevant.
I don't suppose you tell us what it is?
When the time is right.
Excuse me. Miss Deborah said Miss Beatrice was hungry and requested you bring in some hors d'oeuvres.
I thought everyone else might like a snack as well. After Mr. Worthington's announcement, nobody seemed to have much of an appetite for dinner. The roast was barely eaten, and nobody even touched my Brussels sprouts.
There are plenty of hors d'oeuvres left as well, so we brought them out.
Yay, more snacks!
May we?
Certainly. Oh, Mrs. Vickers, everyone in the household seems to have migrated back here into the living room, except for Mr. Tate. Would you find him, please, and ask him to join us?
Yes, Lieutenant. That snake slithered into the parlor a few minutes ago.
By all means, have at it.
You asked to see me, Lieutenant?
Yes, please, join us.
Sit down, at least.
Yes, sure. And staff, if you will remain with us as well.
Lieutenant McMillan, I have a terrible headache and I don't feel at all well.
Something you ate, no doubt.
If possible, could I volunteer to go first?
That's no problem, Mr. Phillips, but I'm not the one who's going to be questioning you. They are! As I said earlier, I intended to question each of our suspects individually, but my phone call to Pete furnished an important clue that I needed to follow up on. And in order to conclude the play at a decent hour, which I'm sure you would appreciate, we need to speed things up. So, give me the house lights, please. There we go. Now, at this point, I'm going to allow you to question or accuse the suspect. I'm going to allow you to question or accuse the suspect that you believe to be the murderer. Since Mr. Phillips volunteered to go first, let's start with him. Now, keep in mind that the killer will no doubt lie to protect himself or herself. Now, with all that said, will those of you who believe that Mr. Phillips murdered Edward Worthington please raise your hand? Ah, there we go. Now, from here, I'm going to go through suspects in this manner, and if you have a question or comment, please raise your hand, and my lovely assistant here will come to you. Now, do we have any questions or comments for Roy Phillips?
Where was Roy? At the marketplace.
At the marketplace? Well, I mainly shop at Walmart. I don't know about marketplace. Actually, I don't do any shopping at all. That's all my wife.
There is a Walmart marketplace.
There's a Walmart marketplace. I'm very familiar with it, but no, I don't visit the marketplace very often.
What's your favorite Taylor Swift song?
Taylor Swift. Oh, the Midnight album is so good. Hang on. Sorry. The one? That's a good question. We're just mismatched, but I love her just the way she is. She's a shopaholic. She's my shopaholic.
Alright, next.
We'll move on to Tony Blackwell. Who believes that Tony murdered Edward Worthington? Let's see those hands. I think she's a little biased. Now, do you have any questions or comments for Tony Blackwell?
Why did you smile when you went to comfort Peggy Sue after the murder?
Why did I smile? Well, Edward had just gone down, and Peggy Sue was a little sad about that, so I thought I'd take my chance while I had it.
Your chance to comfort her, or your chance to...
Yes.
My dear, I'm so sorry.
Hey, Tony, can you tell us about your hair care routine?
Oh! Alright, which part of it do you want to know? First hour, second hour, or the third hour?
How about the first through fourth hour?
Oh, yeah. Spend the first hour just getting ready and watering down your hair. Second hour, shower with your hair looking all nice and pretty. Third hour, you blow dry it for an hour. And then the fourth hour, pampered and pampered, you know. You gotta wake up at 2 a.m. That's the only downside.
Yeah.
So with your hair,
Yes.
do you have recommendations for like hair gel? Because I think I know a guy that might need some help.
I used to use Got to Be Spicy. That went out of it's not sold anymore, and I had a midlife crisis, so. It took me a couple of years to just accept the defeat. But now it's just all natural, honey.
Sad tales. Now, let's move on to Mr. Tate, who believes that Lawrence Tate murdered Edward Worthington. Only one? Do you think you have? Oh, okay. Now, do we have any questions or comments for Mr. Tate?
Lawrence, I heard you were associated with someone who likes to write books. Why is this guy a critic to your boss, perhaps?
We go way back in elementary school. Now, I only met him. Just randomly, Edward gave him my number. And he said, yo, let's collaborate.
Yo.
He said, yo.
Okay.
Are you as bad at your job as you are with ladies?
Yes.
He didn't even hesitate with that one. Well.
The answer is yes.
Let's move on to Connie, who believes that Miss Phillips murdered Edward Worthington. Who here has any questions or comments for Connie?
My favorite thing about Roy, he's so nice and very gentle towards me, even when I'm a little bit too much sometimes.
Do you ever shop at Target?
No, I do not like Target. Only mean people shop at Target. That's our leather shop.
What's your favorite thing to get at Walmart?
My favorite thing, oh, I have so many favorite things. Early is the Christmas supplies. There's so many great Christmas stuff. And they just had a fall sale. Oh, I'm so excited.
Have you ever shopped for steak knives at Target, Walmart?
Say that one more time.
Have you ever shopped for steak knives at Walmart?
I mean, I gotta use something to cut the vegetables. It's multi-purpose.
What is your favorite prescription that you're currently on?
My ADHD one. I can't remember the name of it though. No.
Yo, speaking of Walmart, I work at Walmart. Do you want a discount or something?
Oh, I just love the discount. I can shop with it. Oh my god.
You seem to be a little homewrecker, my friend.
Bless your heart.
We'll move on to Deborah Worthington, who believes that Deborah murdered her own father. One believer. Anyone dare to join her? Make up your mind. Any questions or comments for Deborah?
Oh, that's easy. So, my least favorite, I'll tell you that one first because you should always get that one out of the way. Math. I'm terrible at math. My favorite class is my party class. I have an A+ in that one.
What's your major?
My major? Probably partying. Oh, they're not that bad. You know, on our last test, it was at 100 points. I only got a 0.2.
We'll move on to Allegra Worthington. Who believes that Allegra murdered her own husband?
Probably right.
She's winning. Now, any questions or comments for Allegra?
You have fits of rage. Do I have fits of rage?
Yes.
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 Well then, Allegra, what do you call it when you threw the crystal bowl on the ground the other evening? Was that a bit of happiness?
I was trying to clean it.
What about when you threw wine at me? I had to clean that.
You tripped.
What about that one time? That one time, you remember? It actually happened to be this night, when you were holding a knife and looking menacingly at me.
I was just looking at my reflection.
That's enough, that's
Yeah.
enough, that's enough.
Do you know how to be nice to anyone?
No.
I'd love to hear the answer to this question.
Yes.
No, she is lying.
Yes, I do.
Prove it.
Justine will tell you, when you live with Edward, you're constantly in a not great mood.
Honey, it takes a real woman to be able to deal with Edward.
It's the
I would know.
I turned out fine.
Now, let's move on to Justine Worthington. Who believes that Justine murdered her own ex-husband? Your hand shot straight up, sir. Any questions or comments for Justine? I think people like Justine. Only one hand, really?
10 years ago, about.
No. No. Yes?
Yes, it was 10 years ago. I would know.
You acted this way after 10 years? It takes 10 years to turn you into this? I wrote this?
You forget that I'm Tony's older sister. I've had to deal with him for 40 years.
But even if I thought that Tony was perfect. Okay, never mind.
I might have thought about it, but I would never have done it.
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever had a plan?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Who believes that Edith, the maid, murdered Edward Worthington? Raise your hand at your peril. Any questions or comments for Edith?
You guys are boring.
You guys are.
Huh? I'm gonna need you to speak up, please. Makeup. Oh, my makeup routine? Okay, so I put on my primer, and then I do all of my other things.
Do you like him, or was he your last resort?
No, I like him. Really? Uh-huh. I have my reasons.
What happened outside?
Outside.
Yeah.
Excellent. We looked at the stars stars in these hearts. Yeah.
Has Edward ever made a pass at you?
Has Edward ever made a pass at me?
Before he was killed.
No. He's given me some looks though.
Should I get the name wrong? Mr. Worthington, has he ever made a pass at you? The same person.
Yeah, that's the same person, honey.
Come on! Did you watch the play?
No, but he gave me some looks though.
Alright, we'll move on to Ina the cook. Who believes that the cook murdered Edward Worthington? Really? That's it?
What do you mean by that?
Nick!
What do you mean by that?
Anyway, questions or comments for Ina?
Ina, can I get your recipe for your whipped potatoes?
You know.
No, you do not want it. No, she didn't ask you the question. I mean, you can have it if you want to make it better. Okay, so I put potatoes in a pot, and they boil, and then I take the potatoes out of the pot, and then I just kind of mash them all up.
Are you sure they're potatoes?
She tends to add vinegar.
Potatoes off. You can tell potatoes off, and then that's about it.
She tends to add vinegar and vinegar and vinegar.
No, I don't.
Maybe a banana if she's feeling feisty.
I don't know why you said banana. That makes no sense.
Tasty.
How much do you like cooking? I like cooking. I really got into it for the knives. I don't know, there's just something about the craftsmanship that I really admire.
Where did you work before?
No.
It was a very dark time. I spent 15 long years at Applebee's.
Fate worse than death.
They knew too much. Who is it? The people with the leather on the face, leather face.
Here's a chainsaw.
Right? Awesome.
What's your favorite brand of knives?
Favorite brand of knives? Well, I get my knives from this place. I get them online. It's from this place called knives.com.exe. It's really good.
Now, who believes that Mrs. Vickers murdered Edward Worthington? He's biased. Now, do you have any questions or comments for Mrs. Vickers?
Because when you work in a place as terrible as Worthington Manor, you tend to trauma bond, I guess is what it's
Because that is a very responsible woman you are. Honestly, you meet jobs like this fellow right here before.
Tell me, how did you saw him in the face?
I can demonstrate for you if you want.
This is a G-rated show.
It is.
It was a clean right hook.
Very clean.
Emphasis on clean.
Oh yeah.
I don't know about you, but it sounds to me like you're trying to say this for yourself.
Oh goodness.
I think you struck a nerve.
You opened up Pandora's box there, but
There are far more handsome men out there, trust me. I'm ashamed of you.
So did you intentionally try to kill Tony and then accidentally killed your boss instead? Is that what you did? I
Well-
think he killed him. It wasn't me. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I must admit, I did not try to kill Tony earlier, but I got him close. But no, I would never even try to kill my boss. I mean, he doesn't pay me much, but it's the only job I can get.
She has 7 felonies on record.
When you party like Deborah does in college, you end up like me.
And when you commit 7 felonies, you end up like you.
They don't help us.
That's enough. Now, who believes that Hollister murdered his own cousin? Goodness gracious. Did you raise your hand any slower? Who has any questions for Hollister? One will suffice.
What do you even do besides eavesdrop?
You please speak up, my dear.
What do you even do besides eavesdrop?
Oh, that's easy. I am Hollister, the butler. I picture Wellington Manor as a huge ocean liner, of which I am the captain. As the other servants can tell you, I run a tight ship.
We get it,
I
Hollister.
spend my days cleaning up after the inhabitants of this house. Like Miss poor old Beatrice's little mess of mince she made back there. Or when Tony's grubby mix.
Okay. He prepares his speech every time someone asks. It's actually amazing.
Why did you not take your gloves off when they were fingerprinting you?
Because
they don't have your fingerprints, because you killed the dude.
My fingerprints wouldn't even be on the knife. I wear gloves the whole time.
Because you're a murderer.
Well, I mean, usually
I like this
I
guy.
just
He's real passionate about it. Get into it, brother.
Watch what you say. You never know who might be next.
You're not making yourself look any better, Hollister.
Oh. If you need a lawyer, I'm always here.
Why are you always lurking around?
I'm just trying to listen and make sure that I'm not the subject of conversation or suspicion for that matter.
He likes the drama.
Don't we all? What's that?
Do you talk much?
Do I talk much?
Too much.
Miss Vickers likes those that are mute. But a little bit too much for her liking, but I think the perfect amount.
Do you secretly work for the Adams family?
No, you see, however, Audie Manor is actually just a few streets over. It's about a 20-minute walk. And one of my very, very good friends, Mr. Lurch, that is.
Behind.
Are you the illegitimate child of Mr. Edward?
No, madam.
What?
I
Did Edward come from England? No.
am actually about 10 years older than Edward. I grew up in a small town in England about 50 miles south of London. And then one day, Edward's father, Edward Worthington II, came around, and he was simply looking for someone with an English accent to be his butler. It was a far better job than my current job of farming at the time. And I figured that it was worth the money for me to satisfy his request. So I came here to America. I'm currently undocumented.
That last detail was unnecessary.
Now, for Beatrice. Who believes that Beatrice murdered? Who believes that she murdered her own brother? Okay. Do you have any questions or comments for Beatrice?
Knowing your father, should he be concerned that you take things everywhere you go?
What?
Knowing your father, should
You guys, I can't hear you. What?
wait till we get home, okay?
What? Why am I going home with you? My home's right here. What? Yeah, you want some? No.
Stage food is seldom what it's supposed to be.
Everywhere you go.
She just enjoys the
She borrows. Yes. I borrow things. I just don't return them sometimes.
I love you, Beatrice. You're a queen.
Thank you, I love you too.
Miss Beatrice! Why do you hobble?
Well, I got a really bad leg. I mean, considering I'm... How old am I?
80 something.
Eight? No, I'm like...
That's far too young.
That is true.
I just wanted to defend you because if you would have killed him, we would have heard you get up and heard you sit back down.
That's a good point.
Yo, is there any way you're trying to share that food with me? I'm a little.
I mean, you want some?
Yeah?
No, you can't have any. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
With all due respect, we are not throwing the tray clear from here to there.
Yeah. I'm not walking there either. No. No. Never mind.
Are you saying you're a bad person? You deserve one of those?
Hey, watch your mouth.
So what is it you're eating?
Well, it's some nibble. That's all I got. Snacks, I guess? They're good.
Miss Beatrice, they're called hors d'oeuvres.
Or something. No, more.
What is your infatuation with this tray?
It's really good. Ooh. What is it? What?
What was it in the giant present?
The giant present? I didn't open it. I don't know. It was heavy though. I'm tired.
Thank you, Miss Beatrice. Now, at this point, I'm going to allow a couple more questions for anyone on stage, in case you came up with any more questions. Well, Peggy Sue isn't really a suspect, but by all means, ask any questions you wish.
This question's for Tony.
Ooh.
Why did your father teach you how to treat a lady?
Fatherless. He taught himself it.
What is what we're telling you?
I taught myself something.
It shows.
This is for Peggy Sue. How easy would it have been to seduce a lawyer into writing a fake will that gave you all of his money?
Oh, that's a good one. I think you might have got me there. Well, I mean, okay, let's be for real. Can you see his face? You think I would want to seduce him? Anyways, I'm just looking for that, darling. Anyways.
Hollister!
Yes, sir. You forget yourself, sir. I am simply a...
Sit that down!
Sit down! Sit down, you two-bit gigolo!
He said what he said. God.
I couldn't help but notice the remarkable amount of chemistry between you and Lieutenant McMillan. Is there anything going on there?
Sorry, one second.
What's your salary, honey?
Go for round two.
Well, depending on the success of the case, I'd say I would 50,000 less than a year due for you. 50,000 or less a year. Would that suffice?
She only likes salaries, though, like phone numbers.
Can you repeat that? That's it?
And
Honey, I
9.1
make
does
more
not
than
count.
you.
Well, you worked for a millionaire.
And?
amazing at my job. Anyways, the answer's no. There's your answer. N-O.
I understand how it is.
Big N, big O, period.
This one's for Miss Peggy Sue. Because you no longer have a fiance, what are you doing after this tonight?
How much money you make, dog?
I may call it.
Oh, never mind.
All right, that's gonna wrap up our. Sorry, sir.
Let me ask this question. I'm tired now.
Let's move on. Let's move on. Thank you, everyone. Now that we've reviewed the suspect's motives and actions, let's proceed to the climax and reveal who did murder Edward Worthington III. Last lights. As we all know, someone in this room murdered Edward Worthington. But the question remains, who?
Beatrice, what on earth are you doing? I don't like the snacks with lappings on them. Oh, for goodness sake, don't throw them on the floor. I thought they were bugs.
So did I.
Olive slices?
Black olives, Lieutenant McMillan. I put slices of them on some of the hors d'oeuvres.
Huh. I gather, Miss Worthington, that you removed olives from the hors d'oeuvres earlier tonight, say before dinner?
Yes, I don't like the snacks with the black things on them.
And did anyone remove any olives from your hors d'oeuvres before you ate them?
I confess. I took a tomato off one and put it on the hors d'oeuvre next to it. Really, Lieutenant McMillan, surely claims of one's food hasn't become a crime. Shouldn't you concentrate on solving Edward's murder?
That's precisely what I'm doing, Miss Worthington. In fact, I know now who murdered him. Oh, Edith! You stated that you had wiped the cake knife with a dish towel after it had been cleaned in the dishwasher, am I correct?
Yes.
And you said that no one touched it until Mr. Worthington and then his wife.
That's right, Mom.
Then, there's only one person who could have left the substance our lab chief found on the handle. Oil. Olive oil.
That's what you were searching in the kitchen for.
Yes, but I was searching for bottled olive oil, the kind that you cook with.
I don't use it. I prefer Crisco.
And so I noted. It didn't occur to me to look for a jar of olives, but obviously they are the source of the oil that Miss Beatrice passed from her fingers to the murder weapon. Miss Beatrice, if you would please come with me.
Where are we going?
To jail. I'm arresting you for the murder of Edward Worthington III.
No. You think I killed my little mama? Oh, maybe I did. I don't really know. It was really dark and I couldn't see anything.
Oh, Aunt B.
Wait! Lieutenant McMillan. Miss Beatrice didn't kill anyone. She couldn't hurt a fly. I murdered the master.
Good for you, Hollister. If you weren't going to the slammer, I'd give you a raise.
Please! Ladies, this is no laughing matter.
Who's laughing?
You had better explain.
Yes, sir. So you see, I've grown very fond of Miss Beatrice over the years. It's the reason I never married, though I couldn't tell her, of course, because it wouldn't be proper. Then, I was terrified that he would send you away. As for you, the lights went out. You stepped past me to go to the door.
Wait, how did you know that?
I smelled her perfume, primrose. Then I heard the knife clatter as she picked it up. I feared she was going to use it to stab her brother, and I couldn't let that happen. So I felt for her hand and took the knife from her.
And you stabbed the man yourself?
You see, I hadn't intended to, but she fell back against the blade, and I don't expect you to believe it was an accident, but I can assure you.
Oh, Hollister, I wasn't gonna kill Edward. He was my little Bubba. I just thought the knife was shiny and pretty, and when I like shiny and pretty things, I tend to hide them away.
Forgive me for misjudging you, Miss Beatrice. Sir, it seems I made an unfortunate mistake, and I'm prepared to give penance for the crime.
You've been a real gentleman's gentleman, Hollister. Up until you killed yours, of course.
Thank you, Ina. And I trust you, Edith, and Miss Vickers will continue to look after Miss Beatrice while I'm gone, where I fear I shall not be returned.
You're right, we will.
Don't you worry about that.
Of course.
Let's head to the parlor. Hollister, I'll have to give headquarters a call.
As you wish.
As for the rest of you, remain here, please. Since you witnessed Hollister's confession, I'll need to take your statements later.
Oh, Aunt Bee, don't worry. We'll get a good lawyer to represent him.
A good lawyer? I'd like to know how you plan to pay for one. I appreciate Hollister for getting rid of the old ogre, but I don't intend to pay a fortune to defend him.
You're a cruel, greedy woman, Allegra.
And those are better qualities.
Needless to say, you and your brat won't be getting any more handouts either. And as for Beatrice, I'm afraid Hollister's efforts were in vain. A rest home is where she belongs, and I intend to send her to one. The cheapest one I can find.
You wouldn't.
I know, sis. Yes, she would. Oh, and so would I.
Wow, you're horrible. Oh, Miss Vickers, you were right. Tony's a terrible man. I figured you realized that sooner or later. I'm just glad it's sooner.
While I'm cleaning house, Roy, I expect your resignation tomorrow. From what we've all learned here tonight, your business methods leave a lot to be desired.
Well, I explained.
I don't care about what you did with the money. I just don't want you doing it with my money.
But it's not your money, and it never will be.
What?
Edward left a will. I'll schedule a formal reading for this later. I'll give you the gist of it now. He left everything he had for his daughter, Deborah, with two provisions. One, as she should marry, she shall retain her maiden name. And if she should provide a son, she will name him Edward IV after him.
I don't have a problem with that.
He also stipulated that you are to take care of his sister, Beatrice's care, for the rest of her life.
I would have done that gladly anyway. Gee, Mom, I guess Father really did care something about me.
What do you know? The old boy had a heart after all.
What about me? He owes me something too. I gave him the best years of my life.
From what he told me, that's not saying a lot.
Oh, shut up. Oh, Lawrence, what did Edward leave me?
Your Louis Vuitton luggage and all the clothes that you can fit into it. Period.
You mean I killed the old Taiwan for nothing?
Sis!
Yes, I heard the knife platter, and I saw it glimmer when Beatrice picked it up. I knew someone behind Edward was holding it, but what I didn't know was that whoever it was had the guts to kill him. So I gave him a shove backwards. Yes, I helped skewer the man, and I'm glad I did it.
Very interesting. It seems I'm going to have another use for these, Hollister.
I'm happy to return them, sir.
See anything else?
It's too late for that kind of advice, Mr. Blackwell. Apparently when Hollister said that Mr. Worthington fell into the knife, he was telling the truth. He is not the murderer, but the woman who pushed her husband onto the blade is. Allegra Worthington, I'm arresting you for the murder of your husband, Edward Worthington III.
I don't care. Take me out of this house!
With pleasure. My men are on the way in a squad car. We can wait for them out front.
I can't believe it. Somebody called me front door.
Oh, Hollister! Why didn't you tell me how you felt sooner?
It wouldn't have been proper, Miss Beatrice.
Simple. We'll discuss this subject later. In private.
As you wish, my dear.
Hollister, perhaps it would help to solve your problem if you're no longer A.B.'s butler. I think it's time you retired, with a very generous pension. And you're welcome to continue living at Worthington Manor for as long as you like.
Oh, Miss Deborah.
Mrs. Vickers, Ina, Edith, you're part of our family. You showed more love to me than poor father was ever able to. I hope none of you ever leave. You're
Love
so
you,
young.
girl.
Deborah, about my job.
There's no denying that you've invested father's money brilliantly, Roy. But I'm not sure I approve of all your methods. You may continue to act as financial advisor for Worthington Enterprises, but I expect you to meet with me every Friday afternoon to go over the books. If I find anything irregular, I will...
You won't. The figures will look like textbook examples, I swear.
Fine. Does that mean you still have your job?
Yes, Connie.
Oh, good. Walmart's having a fall wallet sale. I'll be right when the door opens.
Whatever you say.
Since you're taking over the management of the company, Deborah, you're going to need a good lawyer, more than ever.
Don't worry, Lawrence. I'm sure between us, Mom and I will be able to find one. We'll make sure it's a lawyer who doesn't betray his client's confidence.
You mean I'm fired?
Like a gas grill on the 4th of July, baby. And Lawrence, you can tell that writer, Jameson, that if he intends to finish that book, he is wasting his time. If there's going to be a biography written about Edward, I'm the one who should write it. I think it's safe to say a bio about his first wife, who was there when he was murdered, will knock any other writer's version right off those store shelves.
Mom, are you really?
I am, if you'll help. Your father was a tyrant, but he was my tyrant, and I'll tell it like it is. I'm sure if I try hard enough, I can find a few good things to say about him. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. He did pay you alimony when he didn't have to, and he provided for me and Aunt B.
You know, if you need somebody to take shorthand and type it up, I'm a darn good secretary.
Mom?
Oh, why not? You're taking Edward away from Allegra, not me. I guess I owe you something for that.
You can stand more, Peggy Sue.
Thanks, ever so much. You know, between the two of us, I'm glad that I'll be working for women for a change. Maybe now all the bruises from where I keep getting pinched will clear up a bit.
Well, I guess that covers everyone but, me. Where do I stand?
Out in the cold, Tony. Edith summed you up perfectly. You're a terrible man. And if I see you after tonight, I'll stick the dogs on you.
You don't own any dogs.
Then I'll buy some. Apparently, Lieutenant McMillan's men are arriving. Allegra is going to be behind bars for a long, long time.
She does have one thing going for her, though.
What's that, Mom?
She's always looked great in stripes.
There you have it, folks. A murder played out and deconstructed for your entertainment and edification. Speaking for the playwright, and his alter ego you recall, I hope you all had a good time. I know all of us did. Thank you so much for coming out, and good night.
Wonderful stage managers right here. Jalen and Haley to come up. Jalen and Haley, they work constantly. They are always here doing something. Whenever we need something, Jalen and Haley are there for us. If it's like this week, Evan's voice isn't doing too well, and Jalen and Haley, as well as some others, are constantly there for them. And everyone, all of us, trying to make sure that we have everything that we need and that we're all ready to go. And we just wanted to say thank you guys very much for that. And then if you guys can do math, that's 3 minus 2, we have 1 left. And that's Mr. T. Can we get you up here, Mr. T? Always up here working, especially during show week. This is pretty much his home. And we just wanted to thank you, Mr. T, for everything you've done for us, the countless hours and everything. We just wanted to thank you. Cash, we're gonna go ahead and take a cast picture as well as a tech picture. So.
Yeah, we're gonna take a real quick picture and then they'll be out there in 20 minutes. So, cast real quick.